At 85 years old, Ringo Starr, one of the last surviving members of the Beatles, has finally broken his silence about the painful truth he has carried for decades. For millions of fans, Ringo has always been the joyful, smiling Beatle, the steady heartbeat behind the most influential band in music history. But behind that cheerful exterior was a life filled with struggles, trauma, and quiet heartbreak that few ever knew existed. And now, as he reflects on his long life, Ringo admits that the weight of survival has become harder to bear with each passing year. Ringo grew up in poverty in Liverpool, spending much of his childhood in hospitals due to severe illnesses. By the age of 6, he had already spent years bedridden, missing school, friends, and any sense of a normal childhood. His mother worked tirelessly to support him, and Ringo later confessed that he had always felt guilty that she had to sacrifice so much just to keep their small family afloat. These early experiences shaped his lifelong fear of illness and loneliness, leaving scars he never fully healed from. When the Beatles exploded into fame, Ringo suddenly found himself living a life far beyond anything he could have imagined. But even during Beatlemania, he privately battled feelings of inferiority. He once admitted he often believed he wasn't good enough to be in the band, thinking Paul and John viewed him only as the lucky one who got invited in. The pressure weighed heavily on him. While millions adored him, Ringo quietly fought his own demons, including a long struggle with alcoholism that nearly destroyed his career and his health. But the most heartbreaking part of Ringo's story came later, when he realized he was one of the last Beatles left. Losing John Lennon in 1980 was a trauma he says he never fully processed. He recalled receiving the news and feeling an overwhelming wave of disbelief, followed by guilt that he couldn't protect his friend. When George Harrison died in 2001, Ringo said it felt like losing a brother all over again. He admitted that sometimes he wakes up and forgets they're gone, only to feel the pain all over again. As he grew older, Ringo also faced the tragedy of time. Many of the people who shaped his life, friends, collaborators, even family members, are no longer here. He confessed that reaching his mid-80s has been emotionally overwhelming. "It's the loneliness," he said. "You spend your whole life surrounded by people. Then suddenly you realize most of them are gone." That realization, he admitted, is the heartbreak no one prepares you for. The public sees Ringo as youthful, energetic, and hopeful, and he does try to maintain that spirit. But he revealed that staying positive has become a daily challenge. His biggest fear now is losing his connection with the people he loves. He worries about outliving even more friends and family. "I don't want to be the last one standing," he confessed quietly. "It hurts too much." Despite the sadness, Ringo tries to honor the legacy of the Beatles every day. He continues performing because it keeps him connected to John, Paul, and George in a small way. "When I play, I feel them," he said. "It's like they're still here." Music has become his therapy, his way of fighting the darkness that threatens to overwhelm him in his quietest moments. The tragedy of Ringo Starr is not a scandal or a dramatic downfall. It is the quiet heartbreak of a man who has survived more loss than most could bear. At 85, he carries the memories of his childhood pain, the burden of fame, the loss of his closest friends, and the fear that comes with being one of the last links to a chapter of history the world will never forget. He remains strong, but deeply aware of how fragile life has become. And that truth, spoken softly by a man the world has loved for decades, is what makes his story so profoundly heartbreaking.